What's going on, guys? It's your boy, the Boxing Lowdown, here for episode number 89 of the Boxing Lowdown podcast. Now, as you guys can see, Laurie's not here. He'll be joining in about 5 minutes, though, so bear with. I think he's just running into a bit of connection issues, but he'll be joining soon enough. So I thought I'd just get this started, just speak whatever you guys want to speak about until he joins. We've got quite a lot of topics to talk about today. But first of all, let me just say, for anybody that's entering the chat, feel free, as you guys always do, to hit the like button, share the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I've got a lot to talk about today, so we'll happily go through your comments. And let's get cooking, man. Been quite a bit going on in boxing this week. We saw Joyce in action over the weekend. We saw Maris Bradis get upset, and I slept on that fight as well. So I have to say, I have to hold my hands up. I slept on that fight, but, a great upset there. We have a new IBF Cruiserweight champion. Quite a bit to talk about today, so we'll get through it, and we'll get you guys' opinions as well. So looking forward to speaking to you all. Of course, we've got a fight this weekend with Chisora-Pulev, and we've got Magsayo and Vargas taking place over there in the States. So, yeah, as you guys roll in, we'll talk about that. But first of all, just wanted to, it wasn't on the agenda today, but I thought it was just on my mind before I logged in. This whole Tommy Fury Jake Paul saga. Do you know what I mean? I don't know about you guys, man, but I'm really tired of this Tommy Fury situation, man. I don't know the ins and outs. I wasn't there. Do you know what I mean? With regards to him not getting the American visa, but that's twice now. At the end of the day, the cold, hard line a day is twice that we've seen a proposed fight with Jake Paul. Let's be honest, it's probably going to be your ceiling in terms of what you're going to be able to achieve. And he fumbled it. Do you know what I mean? I know Jake Paul's given him the name Tommy Fumbles, but he really has fumbled the bag. Do you know what I mean? He actually has. So it appears that everybody on Twitter and online, from what I've seen, is kind of siding with Jake Paul on this as well, man. I haven't seen many come out in support of Tommy Fury with regards to all of this. But yeah, he really fumbled the bag, man. And he'll be lucky if he gets it. He's lucky he got a second chance. But for me, I don't think it gets any bigger than this for him. Do you know what I mean? I can't see him really getting to that stage where he's challenging for like a domestic title, a British Commonwealth, anything Europe, anything on that sort of level, even at English. I don't think he'll be on that level. So, this was really it for him, and he fumbled it. Let's go to the comments here. We've got Ian Hamilton in the building. He's put here, evening, to quote the Black Eyed Peas. Let's get this started. Big up Ian Hamilton, man. DS has said here, good evening, family. Good evening to you as well, man. Francisco has said here, break it down, bro. You know I will. And I've got Laurie here in the building with me now. Right here, Laurie is in the building. What's going on, man?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Just had to fulfill a commitment to another show I was doing, football. But now I'm here. Looking forward to what you got to throw at me for this week. What are you saying?
We've got a bit to go through, man. I was just literally talking about before you came on. This whole it wasn't on the agenda, but this whole Tommy Fury, Jake Paul situation, man. To me, he fumbled the bag again. I know about this whole visa situation and that, but like, to me, what Jake Paul's saying, and you can't really take one side if he wasn't there, but it seems like the whole boxing community is with Jake Paul in this. Like, he really fumbled the bag again, didn't he?
Yeah, it's a bizarre situation because you have to ask yourself, what is this visa issue? Why has he not sorted it out before now? I mean, if it happened to me or you, the first thing we'd want to do is to sort that out, wouldn't you? Because regardless of your boxing career, something like that will inhibit you in being able to travel. So that should be a priority, shouldn't it?
Mm-hmm.
I do have some empathy with what Jake Paul's saying. Yeah, it's a bizarre one. Has he given a reason?
Well, from all I've seen is Jake Paul saying that, they haven't been very cooperative. Big up Obes, I see you as well. Conrad, I see you in here. From what Jake Paul's saying, he's saying that they weren't very cooperative in trying to get that visa sorted out when it got rejected. And there hasn't been, Jake Paul saying that there's just been silence from that camp, which is bizarre to me. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's bizarre. This is your ceiling, in my opinion. You're not going to get any higher than a money fight with Jake Paul. You're probably on the same level in terms of ability. So really, I can't really see it getting any better for you. So I'm just quite surprised as to why he hasn't really pushed for this. If he was ignoring calls from Jake Paul, why? Do you know what I mean? I don't get that.
Yeah, I mean, let's be honest, man. Tommy Fury has got a lot to lose in this fight, man, innit? Because let's be honest, if he gets beaten by Jake Paul, especially if he was to get stopped or knocked out, his career's virtually over before it started. He will be remembered. He'll be memed to death. That's number one. And number two, he will be that guy that got knocked out by a YouTuber. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but Tommy he's not that guy.
Troll.
Tommy's a social media, personality as well. He's not known for being he's not looked at.
But he likes to portray himself as a serious fighter, as a Fury, you know what I mean, as the alpha male. And you know what I mean? Even Tyson Fury says if he loses to Jake Paul, he's got to change his last name. So talk about pressure. That's what his older brother said. If Jake Paul was to lose to Tommy Fury, he can say, well, actually, you know what I mean, it's the first proper professional fighter I fought. I've still got a bit of learning to do, blah, blah, blah. It's easier for him to cope with that loss. I think if you're Tommy Fury and you lose to Jake Paul, man, I think your career is pretty much over, isn't it?
Well,
let's be honest.
But he's the way how he's getting, rolled on social media at the moment.
I kind of see that, to be honest with you. I mean, listen, I don't know the ins and outs of what's going on, so maybe I shouldn't jump to conclusions here. But it does make you wonder why he's not sorted this out. Because, like I said, if that happened to me or you, forget about your profession. You want to know that you, as an individual living in the free world, that you can travel as and when you want. So if there's an issue regarding your visa, the onus is on you to get that sorted straight away. You know what I mean? That's what I would be doing. I'll be down that embassy sorting that out, man.
Well,
any which way I can. I mean, what is the issue? I mean, it's not the whole Daniel Kinahan thing, is it? It's nothing.
Well, that's what Obes is saying here. It could be down to the Kinahan links, but Tommy Fury was only in America.
So, surely
he was only in America not too long ago. I don't think
exactly.
So I
know sure if it was the Kinahan thing, he would have said. And then everybody would have said, well, actually, yeah, fair enough. But he said it wasn't that. He's on the record as saying it's not that. It's a visa issue that they were confident they'd be able to sort it out. The fact that he's not sorted out and they've not said anything concrete as to why just gives me the impression, as I'm sure it does many others, is that maybe they weren't too keen to sort this out.
Bizarre to me. Bizarre.
So the dad is not banned for Kinahan links, is he? The dad is banned for something else because he's got criminal
conviction.
Yeah. So that's entirely separate. So, but does make you wonder, though, doesn't it? Let's be honest, man. It does make you wonder how keen was he really to sort this out?
Big up Harvey.
I've said all along that I think Jake Paul beats Tommy Fury. I've not been Tommy Fury at all.
As Obes is saying here, he said Jake has said he'll come to London after August. I saw that tweet, Obes, where he said he'll pay Tommy Fury 500K to cut, and he'll go over there and fight him. Tommy Fury was like, I won't even get out of bed for that money. So again, he was getting trolled on social media by everyone saying, where have you made 500K? You've never made
that on Love Island. You may have made that on Love Island, but he certainly has not made that in the ring. I mean, he's still fighting 6-rounders.
I wouldn't get out of bed for 500K to fight.
Oh, man, listen, man, you've got some very good champions in this country that have not seen anywhere near that type of money. Nowhere near. So for him to turn his...
And is that the problem? Is that the problem with this whole thing?
We've got
very good champions that are not making anywhere near that amount of money. And
anywhere near. And I'm not going to name them, but, most champions in this country, British level, European level, have not made that in one fight. Nowhere near it. There's only a certain percentile of fighters who are going to be making anywhere near that type of money. And Tommy Fury is not one of them. I'm confident in saying that. The guy's fighting 6-rounders, for God's sake. Against not very good opponents.
Obes is saying here he's got Jake as well. Obes is saying here he's got Jake as well. DS is saying here, I don't think Tommy Fury was overly keen to fight Jake Paul. He's got more to lose than to gain from that fight.
Well, that's what I said. Well, that's what I said.
Yeah, Harvey saying here, I could see Jake in London after August. surely it would help him build towards that YouTube fight with KSI. I don't know. Yeah. I was
like
saying
I
here,
said,
Tommy ain't a real fighter. He's had a few fights and then he went to become a reality star.
Listen, he's had a few fights, and I've got to be honest, man, I've been far from impressed. He looks good, you know what I mean? His body is in good shape and all the rest of it. He's a good-looking kid and all the rest of it, but I have to say, man, I've been far from impressed with him as a fighter so far. And not saying that I've been overly impressed with Jake Paul either, although he does have some highlight reel knockouts. But I've got to be honest, man, if it was down to me betting on the two of them, my money would be on Jake Paul. I just got to keep it real. I've seen nothing from Tommy Fury to suggest he's going to do anything in the game. Nothing. You know, it is what it is. Just got to be honest, didn't you? I mean, some of those fighters he's fought, have you seen their win-loss records? I mean, come on, man. And he's still not getting them out of there either. You know what I mean? So, yeah. At least Jake Paul can.
Well, Jake Paul now, he's fighting someone with a winning record. Hasim Rahman's son. Hasim Rahman Jr. he's fighting. 12-1. He's fighting him next.
I'm talking about Tommy Fury.
Yeah, I know. I'm just saying who Jake Paul's fighting next, who he's confirmed his next opponent will be. That'll be Hasim Rahman's son. So that that'd be a dangerous one for him.
Yeah, so, possibly. Yeah.
Just my quick thoughts on that anyway, before we get into today's show. Joe Joyce in action over the weekend. We spoke about it quite a bit off camera. I know it was on Saturday, but let's actually quickly cook on that before we get into some of the topics for today. Joe Joyce, I just want to get straight off the bat. I wasn't impressed at all with that performance. I know I wasn't. I know, let me first of all say, I know that he was out the ring for a year. I know it was Christian Hammer, and Christian Hammer is, he probably fought to the level of his opponent on that fight. I get it. But over the last few weeks, and I've been advocating for Joe Joyce as well, over the last few weeks, do you know what I mean? He's been very vocal, which is good. He's been calling out the likes of AJ quite a few times, called out Joseph Parker correctly for pulling out of that fight. You know, there was a lot of hype around Joe Joyce with, you know, get him in there with one of the elites now. So he's in there with Christian Hammer, got caught too many times for my liking with that overhand right. It wasn't like it was a sharp, quick overhand right or a counter. It was just a looping overhand right that didn't travel that fast. Caught Joe Joyce numerous times. I get it. Maybe it was the fact that Joe Joyce didn't respect Christian Hammer, knew he'd eventually get him out of there or win the fight. So, you know, fought to the level of his opponent. I get that. But it just wasn't a great advert for me to convince me that he would beat one of the elites like a AJ, like a Usyk, like a Fury. I don't think he beats any of them.
Wilder. Can I ask you a question, though?
Go on,
When he got it with him overhand rights, what happened?
Oh, he barely blinked.
Exactly. So why are you know what I mean? Are you not impressed with the fact that he literally ate that for breakfast? And that was Christian. Don't forget, Christian Hammer's come over here and knocked out David Price.
What's the name of the game, though?
No, I hear what you're saying. I'm just trying to present another view of things. We know that Joe Joyce is defensively not the most astute. We know that. He doesn't move his head. He's very upright. He's easy to hit. But to be fair to him also, he can take a punch. In fact, his chin is probably up there with the best in the division.
Name of the game, hit, not get hit. And for me...
We all know that not all fighters subscribe to that.
Yeah, and I think that might be his downfall. As Harvey's saying here, he's saying, I'm confident Joyce loses to the top 4 heavyweights. He's way too hittable, and it's going to cost him massively against the elites. Think of like, you know, if you fall into bad habits of getting hit, you know, even against like guys like Christian Hammer, who I won't disrespect too much, but, you know, he was on the way out of it in terms of his career. He's at the end of his career. If you get hit regularly in fights, and to be fair, I haven't seen him hurt with a headshot. I've only seen him hurt once. That was with a body shot, and that was against Brian Jennings. But yeah, if you fall into that habit of getting hit a lot, if you're going up there and stepping the level of competition where you're more likely to get hit against guys that punch as hard as AJ, or or as often as Fury can. I don't know, man. It just doesn't present to me a great advert. I know he beat Dubois, and I'm not saying Dubois was a highly ranked heavyweight as well, but yeah, just are you watching that thinking to yourself, yeah, man, I feel he can beat an AJ, a Fury, a Usyk, or a Wilder, or White. I know you think he'd beat White now.
Oh, I'm sure he'd beat Dillian. I'd put money on it. I'll also give him a very good chance against Deontay Wilder as well. Listen, I'll give him a shot against all of those guys, man. Trust me, I would, because I think that what he brings to the table, I think sometimes, yes, you're right in terms of boxing is a sport, hit and don't get hit. But I think Joe Joyce has some attributes there that sort of make his defensive deficiencies, it kind of levels them up in a way. When I'm talking in terms of his chin, his resilience, his engine, you know what I mean? And listen, it wouldn't be the first boxer in the world we see do this type of thing where they just trade on their toughness and their resilience and their ability to walk through shots, and at the same time they've got a great engine for a lot of punches, even if he's not the most aesthetic to look at, they're still doing damage. He's a very, what I call, heavy-handed clubbing kind of fighter. I think he's got Hammer out of there quicker than anybody else, hasn't he? I mean,
Yeah.
Yui Fury, that fight, it was round 5 where he pulled out. Let's be honest, he probably quit, didn't he? He wasn't in the best of shape. He just came and picked up his check, and at the first sign of discomfort, I think he bailed out. So although he was claiming an injury, it looked to me like he bailed out in that fight. But previously, guys have not got him out of there early. I mean, no, Tyson Fury stopped him, was it round 8? I think he retired in that fight as well. But Joe Joyce literally clubbed him into submission. You don't see that many other guys doing that, if any. Frank Sanchez couldn't do that. You know what I mean? So,
well, Frank Sanchez called him out. Called Joe Joyce out.
I think that'd be a great fight.
Yeah. A lot of people in the comments here seem to think that, other than Quan, big guns, big up, bro, all the way from Chicago, he's saying Joyce has the best chin in boxing right now. A lot of people are saying here that they think Joyce, they kind of agree with me on this. They feel that Joyce is might be in over his head if he goes in against the elites. Harvey's saying here, Fury would jab his head off all night. Usyk would have a field day. AJ would land combos at will, and Wilder would send him to hell.
Those are all possible.
Do you think we're overreacting? Do you think all of us? Do you think we might be overreacting a little bit? Do you think so, or not?
I just think, I'll tell you what I think happened, and we did speak about this in the aftermath of the fight, myself and you, when you called me and we were we were talking about this. And I know you weren't impressed. You kept saying, "Oh, he kept getting caught." And I said, "Yeah, he was getting caught. It's not a good look, the fact that he got caught so cleanly against such a limited opponent." But I also genuinely do believe, and I do believe this, that Joe Joyce sort of that mindset that a lot of fighters have when they know that they're levels above their opponent. In that, and this is why sometimes fighting guys that are not that good, when you're not that motivated, can be dangerous, because they can make you look bad until you get them out of there. Because he knows going into that fight, as we all knew, that Christian Hammer had no chance against Joe Joyce. You know what I mean? I would have bet my mortgage. I would have bet your mortgage on it, Darryl. You know what I mean? That Christian, I said to you that the fight won't go beyond 5 rounds. I think I said that to you, and you at the time you expressed some surprise. But I knew what was going to happen. I knew that Joe Joyce was going to go in there, walk him down, and just beat him up and get him out of there. And that's exactly what he did. Now listen, the opponent wasn't very good. I actually feel that Joe Joyce kind of fought down to that guy's level, even though he got him out of there quicker than most other people have done. But I think if you step Joe Joyce up, I think you're talking about a very serious contender. I mean, look what he did to Daniel Dubois. You know what I mean? And I could see him doing that to guys better than Dubois as well.
Yeah. He's got tremendous conditioning.
I think he is all wrong for Dillian, bro. He is all wrong for Dillian. Dillian, if you're out there, do not take that fight, bro, because you'll be better off going in there with Wilder. You got more of a chance with Wilder. But
so I don't want to be too disrespectful, because I do like Joyce. I do like watching him. And I do think, I would like to see him in there with one of the. I would have liked to have seen him against Parker. Do you know what I mean? But unfortunately, we didn't get that, and that was no fault of Joyce. But yeah, I would like to see him in there with one of those guys, and he does deserve it. Do you know what I mean?
I get the impression that Joseph Parker deep down doesn't really want to smoke with Joe Joyce. I honestly believe that. Now, listen, I'm not saying he's scared of him, but I think it kind of makes sense at this point in Joseph Parker's career to swerve a guy like Joe Joyce, because Joseph Parker's still hoping to navigate himself to another world title shot. He probably thinks, I've got one last run at the dice in me. Why are you going to fight Joe Joyce, man, and get beat up and deprive yourself of that one last opportunity? Because he's not going to beat Joe Joyce. I'll tell you that now. You know what I mean? And if he tries to be aggressive with Joe Joyce, he'll just get stopped. He'll get walked down and get stopped.
Yeah.
So
we got Quan Big Guns in here. It says here, you guys sound like you should be on A. Definitely, I'm not on anyone's team, man. But big yourself up, man. Anyway.
Listen, man. Listen, I've got no problem in saying that I'm an AJ fan. Got no problem in saying it, bro. I hope he does well. I hope he beats Usyk. I'm really astonished at the amount of people that are just writing AJ off completely. I get the impression as well, a lot of people who are doing that are actually wanting him to lose, which is shameful when you think that a lot of them are in this country. Listen, man, AJ, he got beat and got well beaten last time, but this is a different fight. If you can adopt different tactics and a different approach, he has the physical attributes that give him a chance. I'm not saying that he's going to automatically win it, but some of the stuff I've seen written about this fight, man, is ridiculous. You know what I mean? Anyone would think that Usyk knocked him down 6 times and stopped him in the 6th round last time. You know what I mean? AJ did have his moments in that last fight, as Usyk himself has admitted. Go look back on the transcripts, man, of some of his interviews. He's admitted that AJ hurt him on more than one occasion. So, you know, and let's face it, Usyk fought really well last time, but he's not always fought at that level. You know what I mean? So, listen, AJ, a committed, a determined, a motivated, a hungry AJ has a decent chance of winning. And I'm hoping that he does it, and I'm going to be backing him, and I'm not ashamed to say that.
Back to Joyce. What would you like to see for him next?
I want to see him in against one of the top contenders. I would like to see him in with a Joe Parker, or one of those guys, you know what I mean, in a final eliminator. And I think if he does, I think he comes through it. He deserves a title shot, man. You know what I mean? It's not his fault that people don't want to share the ring with him. And I can see why he's not an attractive proposition for a lot of fighters. I can actually see why, if you're Joseph Parker, that you want to duck Joe Joyce. I can see that. Yeah. Because let's face it, he's not the most recognizable. He's not the most saleable. So it's not like you're going to get a massive bag for fighting Joe Joyce. And he's probably going to put an L on your record. Who wants that? You know what I mean? So
quite a few suggestions here for Joyce. We've got Frank Sanchez or Dillian White, Andy Ruiz being mentioned here.
He'd beat Ruiz. I've got no problem in saying that. He'd beat both.
White and Ruiz. Frank Sanchez, what about him?
I'd fancy him against Frank Sanchez as well.
Yeah, okay.
Although I think that would be a competitive fight, because clearly Frank Sanchez is way more skilled. But, you know, I mean, Joe Joyce brings a different set of skills to the table, different set of attributes that even somebody that is as skilled as Frank Sanchez might find it a very difficult night's work. I fancy him against Coley because you've got 2 similar types of fighters there. Only Joe Joyce is bigger, stronger, and hits harder, and he's physically in a lot better condition than Bacoli is.
Let's see how it turns out, man. I'll be curious to see, man. I'll definitely be tuning in regardless. But I just think, as Conrad said here, he has got great stamina, man.
Great stamina.
Tremendous engine.
Great
stamina. They were calling the juggernaut for nothing.
Exactly. Once that engine gets cranked up, man, he just stings through people. He's got one of the most apt names in boxing. You know that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Whoever gave him that nickname, that is the perfect nickname, the Juggernaut, because that's what he reminds me of. You know, like when you're you ever like, I'm sure it has happened to you when you roll up to a traffic light and you've got a big lorry on your left or right hand side, and then you zoom away from the traffic lights or whatever, and if it's a long stretch of road, you'll find you just look in your rear mirror, and that Juggernaut that you left standing at the traffic lights is there zooming down on you, and all of a sudden he's up on your left or right hand side and overtakes you. That's what Juggernauts do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The engine, man, the size of the engine is too big and powerful. And that's what he does.
Yeah. And he's got, let's see where it goes, man. Listen, he's 36, 37 years old, Joyce. So, you know, it's like I said, it's no fault of his own as to why he's not getting these big fights. I hope he does get them. And, you know,
and then the one thing you would say about that, Daryl, is the fact that because he's not had like any real hard fights as a pro yet, is that as a professional, he's still relatively fresh. He's not like he's had loads of wars. You know what I mean? So although he is 37 and advancing in age, it's not like any of his fights. I can't think of any of his fights. I mean, the Dubois lasted some rounds that have been that competitive. Can you?
Yeah. No.
There've been some of his fights that have gone on a bit longer than it should have done.
He was hurt against Brian Jennings. Like I said, he was hurt in that fight, man. Do you remember that?
Vaguely, yeah. I think what it is, Brian Jennings gave him a better fight than a lot of us thought he would.
Yeah.
But yeah, man. Yeah, I mean, I think he won a decision against Jennings, but everybody else, man's getting smoked. You know what I mean? So maybe Frank Sanchez, who's quite mobile and, you know what I mean, he's got good boxing skills, he might be the kind of guy that will give him a lot of problems.
Yeah.
But the bigger and less mobile, more stationary they are, you're in trouble.
Bradis and Opatea. Opatea. I can't, sorry, I'm not know how to pronounce his name. I actually slept on this,
that
man.
one came out the blue, that one did.
I slept on this. I didn't think too much of it. I was, after the show last week, I said to myself, well, I didn't even touch on the Bradis fighting that weekend. And I thought, you know what? Whatever, man. Do you know what I mean? I'll have to be honest, man. When I saw the result, you let me know what the result was. It was a pleasant surprise. I was glad. I have to say, man, I'm quite glad he lost.
Why is that?
Because, like, Bradis, man, the corny videos, the way how he's been acting over the last few months,
But
man.
he wanted to fight Jake Paul, didn't he? Now, maybe.
Yeah, maybe. Well, yeah. Well, just
maybe
you know, I just thought it's refreshing to see. You know, big up Opatea, man. Fought with a broken jaw. Started off brilliantly, had a broken jaw, fought till the end. Well-deserved decision. I think after I did watch it back, I had it 116, 112. I thought that was correct. Well-deserved victory, man. Glad he won. Some new blood in the division. He's already called out Okoli. I'm glad he won. Our Bradis for me was getting too much, man. I couldn't deal with it. And I'm happy that he lost, man. I have to say it. I have to be real. I have to be real. What do you think?
Where you're coming from, I must admit. I mean, Bradis, some of the stuff he was going on with, man, you think, well, bro, what are you up to? What are you doing? You know what I mean? Calling out Jake Paul, dressing up in these ridiculous suits. It did look a bit off to me, man. And now he's been dethroned. And this is what happens sometimes, you know, when you're not focused the way you should be. And Opateo, I understand, was a real good amateur, isn't he? Touted to go very far. I think he's one of the youngest Olympians.
I didn't know anything about him. I have to be honest. I didn't. I think he's
one of the youngest Olympians in Australia's history in terms of boxing. So he's quite a prodigious talent, but so far, up until last weekend, had not risen to the heights. But he sure did that day. And yeah, what a performance. Yeah, shout out to him. And
won't be back till next year, looking most likely, yeah.
So Australia have lost the emperor, but they've gained a star. Let's hope he doesn't undergo a character change the way George Kambosos did. Because you remember George Kambosos, he shocked the world, didn't he?
Yeah.
against Tiafimo, but unfortunately, he went into this weird sort of transformation where the man started talking about himself in deluded terms and undergoing his whole personality transformation, man. You know what I mean? But
Nathan says here, Bradis was a class act after the loss, though, so fair play. Was a very good performance from Opatai. I didn't actually see what Bradis had to say after. I don't know if there's a rematch clause or anything. I don't know if it was just a mandatory, but I wonder where Bradis goes from here.
well, if you're Bradis, you'd be hoping for a rematch because apparently he did finish the fight quite strong. So he'll be thinking that if they fight again, he can get a win. But it's a bad loss for him, really, isn't it? Because he's lost to a guy that no one's heard of. And unless there was a rematch clause, he's going to struggle, isn't he?
Yeah,
because he's going to want to fight him. Because it's not like he's who
he was the number one in the world. Do you know what I mean? So recognized by everybody. So it's a huge upset.
It is. You get the impression though, will Opatai want to fight him again though? So that's what I'm saying. If there's not a rematch clause in that contract, I could see Opatai going elsewhere.
Well, like I said, he's already called out Okoli. He's already said, and you know that's great to hear. You know, and that's a great fight as well. Very good fight, man. From what I saw, so he did look very good on the eye test.
Or
he looked very good.
He might take the B side of the deal, and this is Bradis, that is, and try and get a fight with Lawrence. And if you're Lawrence, you're thinking, well, you know what? This might be the perfect time for me to fight him. Get him out of there. Because let's face it, what's Bradis, 37 going on 38 now?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He's been a pro now for 10, 11, 12 years. Yeah, I know. Bradis, I'm sure he wants a rematch, but is there a rematch clause?
Yeah.
Will he get the rematch?
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting because to me, it seemed like that I don't know, just from the videos and the way how he was acting recently, I know he was probably trying to build up his profile. Don't want to be too hard on him, but like, it just got a bit too much, man. Okoli was there, and to be fair, Bradis and his team said that they were up for that challenge. I don't know what happened there, but just the whole TikToks and all that. If I'm not into it, I can imagine what you're like about it. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, I just thought,
let's just say this: not everyone is built for the social media stuff, man.
Yeah, it's just why are you doing all this when you got Okoli there calling you out? It's a big fight. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
I mean, I saw some video a few months back where he's dressed up in some bizarre outfit. He looked like Ronald for Ronald McDonald, and he was calling out Jay Paul, and it looked very corny, man. It really did.
It was a
man. I wonder where was his focus. Maybe yet another one who looked at the opponent and thought, "Yeah, easy work." Didn't do his due diligence, and now he's lost the fight.
Yeah. So, according to the guys here in the chat, big up everybody. Nathan, Obes, I see you guys, man. Obes is saying here it was a mandatory, but Bradis does want a rematch. However, we do need to know that Opatai is going to be out for a while. Do you know what I mean? Broken jaw in 2 places, man. It's a serious injury. So, yeah, definitely going to be next year till he returns. So, what happens in the interim? You know, I saw someone in here saying they think Okoli and Riakporhe beat Opatai. I saw Obes said it. He thinks Okoli and Riakporhe would beat him.
Yeah, maybe they could. But you got to say, Opatai did something there quite phenomenal, really, because no one was expecting that, were they? Let's be honest. And he's still a very young guy as well. So for him to do that against an established champion is great work. So yeah, man, you can't sort of dismiss this guy because he's done something there that no one thought he would do.
Yeah.
He's come out of nowhere as well and done it. So, you know.
Moving on, man. What about announced this week? Very exciting news. We all knew it was coming, but Savannah Marshall and Clarissa Shields, that was confirmed. We saw the opening press conference take place this week. The odds for this fight, Savannah Marshall opening up as a slight favorite with the bookies.
Really?
Wow. Yeah, she is. Yeah. I was a bit surprised by that as well, to be honest. But
is that on account that she holds a win over? Is that
maybe
because
that? maybe home advantage as well. You know, having it over here in the UK.
Yeah.
And there are people that generally do believe that Savannah Marshall can beat and will beat Clarissa Shields. So
Yeah, it's not. It's not. Listen, man, it's a very good fight, but I must say, I've got Clarissa Shields as a clear winner in this fight. I think the only way that Savannah Marshall can win is by stoppage or knockout. That is the only way. And then you have to say, I know Clarissa's hit the deck once in her fights, but she wasn't like she was hurt. She got up to dominate the rest of that round and won all the rounds in the fight. I doubt whether I've seen Clarissa Shields lose many rounds in her career. Have you?
no,
I have to be honest and say no. To
but
me, she's a clear favourite in this fight, man.
What Savannah Marshall said and what a few other people have said is they've had mutual opposition, and Clarissa Shields,
Yeah,
she
but
doesn't
that
come out
doesn't.
there.
No,
Savannah
man.
Shields, Savannah Marshall, sorry, got rid of them, man. You know,
To me,
so
that don't mean anything. Well, I wouldn't say don't mean nothing, but it means very little to me. You know what I mean? You can't, because she stopped to go and Clarissa went the distance, that doesn't mean a whole lot. You know what I mean? It just means that she's got maybe has a better punch. Well, not maybe. She clearly does hit harder than Clarissa Shields. But I would say that it's clear when you watch them that Clarissa Shields' skill set is on a whole nother level to Savannah Marshall's, to me. Savannah Marshall can actually look quite plodding at times in her fights. I've got to say that. Don't get me wrong, she's a quality performer.
she does hold a win over her. Let's remember that she does hold a win.
She does hold a win over her. That's true. It's a long time ago though now, isn't it? I mean, but listen, man, looking at the two of them, assessing the skill sets, I think that there's a clear gap between the two, clear separation between the two. And unless Savannah Marshall is able to drop and seriously hurt Clarissa or knock her out, I don't think that she beats her, not at all.
Well, let's see, man. You seem you're not really a bit dismissive of her chances compared to what the odds makers are. Remember, it is over here, you know, like she's got home comforts, man. That's going to help a little bit.
Yeah. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying it's
the referee, because I know what the atmosphere is going to be like on that fight. You know, it's going to be all in for Savannah Marshall there. That's going to give her a bit more encouragement. What will the referee be like? Will the referee allow them to be a bit rough in there? Will, you know, that sort of thing. Like, I'm just curious to know how it's going to go. A lot of people, like Conrad, thinks that this is free money in terms of the bet. He's saying it as well. They're not even close skill-wise, but she's a real threat. I think Savannah Marshall is a real threat to Shields, man. I'm not saying she's going to beat her, but I think she is a threat for sure.
Well, there was an interesting exchange when they had the head-to-head the other day. And I think whoever was presiding over that press conference must have said something like to Savannah Marshall, do you ever think about losing in this fight? And then she said yes, which kind of, maybe she was being very honest. I don't know. Or I don't know, man, but it just came across to me as an element of self-doubt. And of course, Clarissa Shields, being Clarissa Shields, seized on that straight away and said, look, you've lost already now that you've said that. Because she goes, I never, ever thought 1 minute that you would beat me. And to be honest, I know that words like that are easy to say, but I do believe Clarissa when she says that. I do think that she has total and utter conviction in her abilities and skills. And I've got to be honest, man, I'm looking at the two of them when they fight, and Clarissa is clearly the better fighter in terms of skill sets. So then that brings me back to what I said before. Savannah Marshall holds the edge in power. So the only way I can see her winning is to knock Clarissa out. I'm not even talking about knocking her down, because I could see her hurting Clarissa or maybe even decking her with a big shot. But Clarissa still having the wherewithal and the skills to still defeat her. And that's what happens a lot when you get, you know that saying, don't you, Daryl? A good boxer will always beat a good puncher. I'm applying that to this fight. So
off the canvas boxing, he said here, yes, Savannah has power, but does she have the skill to put traps to allow the power punches to pull through? I'm not sure. Big up my bro off the canvas, man. Good to see you, man.
Yeah, I personally believe that Clarissa's going to win this one handily, bro. I really do believe that. She might, don't get me wrong, when I say win handily, she might, get buzzed a few times. But I think at the end of the day, there's going to be a clear separation in terms of skill and rounds one. I think, and you're going to see a very, very motivated Clarissa Shields as well, because I think the enmity is real with this one, and I think that it's more towards Clarissa than it is Savannah Marshall.
Yeah. We'll see. We'll see. Savannah Marshall did have, she openly admits that, she is a confidence fighter. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's why Peter Fury's been so great for her, in terms of being in the corner. Like, he's been able to restore her confidence and, drum it in her head that, no, you are good enough. So somebody like Clarissa Shields, will the occasion...
There's only one problem with that, though. Come fight night, Peter Fury's not going to... When they say, right, fighters come to the center of the ring, that's when he steps out.
Yeah, but she's fought her already. She has fought. It's not like she's stepping in there with someone that she don't know. She's obviously familiar with her. She has been in the ring.
But that was, I think Clarissa was 16 going on 17 at the time. Totally different, man. Totally different.
The only thing that concerns me with Savannah is like, this sort of stage, considering that, she's she's not as outgoing as Clarissa Shields, is a bit more reserved. Will the occasion get to her in terms of it being at the O2? Probably haven't fought at this stage yet. Clarissa Shields has, in terms of the Olympics, the 2 gold medals. She's, been right there at the very top in terms of the pressure I'm talking about. Savannah Marshall hasn't got there in terms of that sort of stage. What will she be like, headlining a huge card like this, main event over here in the UK, pressure on you? Clarissa Shields already knows that everyone's rooting against her. Will that get to Savannah Marshall, do you think?
It's possible, because let's be honest, man, if you look at the 2 personalities, they're like night and day, aren't they? Yeah. So Savannah Marshall is reserved, it's quite within herself. Whereas Clarissa Shields is the exact opposite. She demands attention. She's loud. She's precocious. She's a performer. She probably welcomes the big stage. The more people, the merrier. You see how quick she jumped on the plane, come over here for the press conferences and stuff. She loves all that. You see her, how active she is on Twitter. She embraces all of that stuff handily. Sometimes a bit too much, if you ask me. But anyway, that's how she is as a person. So I think her fighting in big arenas, on big stages, in big fights, that actually, if anything, helps her to perform. Some people, they like the bright lights, yeah? I would say that Clarissa Shields is one of those types of people, whereas Savannah Marshall, as we said, is a bit more reserved, bit more introverted, So I wouldn't say she shies away from the big stage, but she's not as comfortable as Clarissa is. And then when you add on top of that the pressure she's going to have because she's the hometown person, the favorite, as you just said, most of the people in the arena are going to be cheering her on. That brings with it a certain amount of pressure as well. But yeah, man, I don't know, man. Maybe I'm seeing stuff that other people are not seeing. Maybe I'm overrating Clarissa. That's possible, but I just don't see any. Apart from the knockout, I don't see. I mean, Savannah Marshall was saying in the press conference, she goes, "I think I can outpoint you," and I'm thinking, boy, man, I can't see that at all. Yeah, because the skill sets are night and day. If you ask me, there's a clear disparity in the skill sets.
Big up R1M here. He says here, if Savannah wins, she might have to time Shields like Danny Garcia, Amir Khan, that left hook. Do you know what I mean? But she's got a good left hook, Savannah Marshall, man.
No, she can punch. It's widely believed that she's the hardest punching woman fighter around at the moment. You can certainly make a case for that. And I know Clarissa's trying to diminish that by saying a lot of the girls she fought were not of quality. But then, as Savannah Marshall quite rightly pointed out, Clarissa has fought some of those same girls and couldn't do nothing with them in terms of getting them out of there. Whereas Savannah Marshall is. And you've got to remember as well, she's done that in the 2-minute time frame of the rounds, not 3 minutes as it is. So you've got to give her enough credit for that. And I think there's no doubt you are right when you were saying about Peter Fury's had a positive effect on Savannah Marshall. But I just think that, listen, boxing is like a lot of sports, and women's boxing is like male boxing insofar as this game's about levels, bro. And to me, I see Clarissa as being on a different level to Savannah Marshall in terms of skills and ability and talent. Now, where it does even up a little bit is the power and the size of the girls, because Savannah Marshall is a naturally bigger woman than Clarissa Shields. But what I'm saying is Clarissa is that good that I think that she's able to overcome those disadvantages and go on to win and win well. I could see her washing Savannah Marshall in terms of rounds, man. Could be one of those where you think, rah, this is not even close.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm actually going to say, listen, man, I've been watching Clarissa Shields a long time, man. I've always been very impressed with her, skills-wise. She's one of my favorite fighters to watch, male or female. You know what I mean? I think she's that good, and we know that she spars a lot with the men. I mean, she spars with male pros all the time, including some of the top guys around. I've heard about her legendary sparring sessions, for example, with Errol Spence, where they were actually going at it. You know what I mean? So,
well, yeah, we'll see. But Michael Maxwell, he's late. He says here, lateness is greatness. Evening, everyone. What have I missed? Missed quite a bit, actually. We've actually spoken about Tommy Fury. We've spoken about Bradis losing. We spoke about Joyce. So, obviously, catch up with
Tommy No Fury
at the end of the show. But yeah, now obviously speaking about Shields and Marshall. Just another one on the card. Nathan said it earlier that we've also got Michaela Mayer and Alicia Baumgardner on the card, all female card, and it's not on pay-per-view. This is a win, man. This is a very good card that Boxer are putting on, man. Salute to them, because that's a great fight as well.
Another great fight. That's a great fight. And another fight with a lot of needle, man. Yeah. Two girls, man. You know what I mean? Not exactly best friends, and they're both on the record as having dissed one another. And even the other day, I was listening to a long interview with Alicia Baumgartner, and she was talking about the genesis of the beef between the two of them. And that is a fight. Actually, I think that fight could be a lot closer in terms of who I'm picking to win. In that fight, I'm leaning towards Michaela Mayer. She's taller. I think she's got slightly the better boxing skills. But I was impressed with Baumgartner, man, in her last couple of fights, especially the Terry Harper knockout. And sometimes Michaela Mayer can stand in the pocket and get hit. She's quite upright, isn't she?
Yeah.
Another one of those upright fighters that doesn't always move their head. So she does get caught.
Yeah.
And if Baumgartner can land shots on her like she landed against Terry Harper, who knows? But I am leaning towards Michaela Mayer in that one, but I've definitely got the GWOAT, as she likes to call us, in the main fight.
Hindsight, because I know that the fight's already happened, but this fight here, Shields and Marshall, and obviously Taylor and Serrano, we all saw how great of a fight that was. Which one, like, I guess we did speak about it before, but does this one excite you more in terms of like before they fought? Like, what's more, like, which one would you, if you could have got a ticket to both? Again, hindsight, because we've already seen Taylor and Serrano, but initially, before that fight happened, what one would you have gone to? This one.
Well, I said on your show a couple of months ago that for me, the fight in women's boxing that excites me the most is Clarissa Shields versus Savannah Marshall. And even though you don't
think it's going to be as competitive as probably Taylor Serrano.
Yeah, the reason being is because of the grudge, the fact that Savannah Marshall beaten her before, the fact that one of the girls is British, the fact that I've been a big fan of Clarissa Shields for so long now. Like I said, she's one of my favorite fighters, male or female. You know what I mean? I just love watching her. I love what she does. I like her confidence. Sometimes she can be a bit much. I do understand that. She can overdo it on social media and stuff. I don't think there's a day that you get up and go on Twitter that Clarissa Shields hasn't got something to say about something. And let's be honest, sometimes you think, why are you even going there? You're like, you know what I mean? You think to yourself, come on now. But she's still a character, man. She's still a great character for women's boxing. And she's genuinely skilled. I like watching her, man. You know what I mean? I like her confidence. And I like pretty much everything she does. So, yeah, so she's a personal favorite of mine. So, with the Katie Taylor Serrano, yes, I love the fight. It was a great fight. I would go as far as to say for Savannah Marshall and Clarissa Shields to match the intensity and sheer drama of their fight is going to be very difficult.
Yeah.
But I don't know, man. Clarissa Shields is one of my personal favorites in boxing. Put it like that.
Okay. We'll see, man. Really looking forward to that. Big up Boxer and Sky as well, man. They really started. I tweeted it the other day. They're really starting to, come into their own, man. They've had some good shows this year. They've made some very good signings. It started off a bit rocky with Boxer and Sky, some of those first few shows, but now it seems like they've found their feet. And for me, man, they're starting to go clear of Queensberry. I'll say that.
Oh, definitely, yeah. But
However,
listen, man, you know what? With Frank Warren, I mean, there's life in the old dog yet. You've got to give him credit. He's been around a long, long time. He's still one of the better promoters in the world, despite what people say about him. And he's still got his fighters, man. So, I mean, he's still got Joe Joyce. He's got Anthony Yard. You know what I mean? He's got all those guys. He's got a lot of fighters and a lot of good fighters as well. So,
how about
he'll be
Zolani
around
Tete?
for a good while yet.
How about Zolani Tete? How about that knockout?
Oh, man, that was wow. I was so pleased for Tete in a way because after his last defeat, a lot of people were writing him off, weren't they? Saying that was the end of him. He'd lost his mum recently. So for him to bounce back and get a win like that is great for him. Felt a bit sorry for Jason Cunningham. I mean,
brutal knockout.
Sorry?
Brutal knockout.
Yeah, it was a brutal knockout on what was the biggest night of his life. And he gets knocked out like that after building himself up to that position whereby if he beats Tete, he'll get a world title shot. So that was unfortunate what happened to him, but I'm hoping he can bounce back. But it was a brutal knockout. The way his head bounced up off the canvas as well was quite worrying, actually. So I hope he's okay.
Yeah. Well, closing out today, man. Let's talk about Chisora-Pulev. We haven't touched on that. That's taking place this weekend. When it was announced, we're very critical over it. Do you know what I mean? But as we get closer, I just find myself resigned to the fact that, I've been public in my, my criticism.
You watch it though, won't you? You watch
it. Come on, man. I'll be lying if I said I probably will be watching it. Do you know what I mean? It is what it is, man. Your thoughts on the fight?
I'll be watching it. I've kind of got a curious morbidity when it comes to Derek Chisora. I mean, you got to say that it's just entertainment, hopefully, because I hope the fight's going to be a good fight. Can't be certain that it is going to be a good fight, to be honest, because you're talking about two guys that are well past their best, both of them. And of course, Pulev's already beaten Derek in what was a lackluster fight. But I'm kind of thinking that this fight will be different. It's over here. There's a lot more attention. It's a top of the bill fight. And Derek will be seeking to try and breathe some more life into his career. He needs to win, even though if he loses, he'll still box on. But it could be one of those that he wants it a little bit more than Pulev does. You know what I mean? That's how I'm kind of thinking. Maybe he's about a couple of percentages more.
Does he though? Does he want it? Is he just in this? He's already said, I'm in this for the money. Do you know what I mean? How much does he really want it now?
Yeah, but how much does Pulev really want it? I mean, Pulev knows that he's got no world title aspirations. He knows that. I mean, he got beat up and smacked up by Joshua. He's had a couple of fights since. One of them was a very low-key fight. He knows he's in that kind of tail end of his career now. And I think he could be on sort of, that last leg, trying to enjoy himself. I mean, look, even though they're promoting the fight, it looks like an exhibition fight, really, doesn't it? It gives me that vibe. It's like a glorified exhibition fight.
Almost.
The two of them are trying to make out like they hate each other, which they clearly don't.
No, they don't.
They clearly don't.
They'll have a cheeseburger afterwards, man.
Yeah, at the very least. I would imagine they'll have a few pints as well.
Yeah, I could see them doing that.
And I just think that maybe at this stage, Derek might out-hustle him and get a points decision. It might be a mildly entertaining fight because Pulev is a tough man. And he's got a decent jab. But I just don't think... I'll be interested to see the weights for that fight.
Yeah.
And if I see Pulev with a big belly and he's about half a stone or a stone heavier than when he fought Joshua, that kind of tells me its own story, really.
Yeah.
And I just think that whilst Pulev is the better boxer, I'm wondering about his level of motivation. The fight is over here. I think for Pulev, this is the bag for him. You know what I mean? I'm not sure if he's really going to dig down and get dirty in order to get the win. Whereas I think that Derek, the fact that it's over here, the fact that he's trying to breathe some life into his career, I think that might swing it towards him ever so slightly. So I'm picking Derek to win a competitive, not very skilled, but mildly entertaining fight, 7-5 or something like that. You know what I mean?
I don't know, man. I think Pulev could beat him, man.
No, Pulev's got the skills to beat him. Most
Pulev probably. Yeah, the last fight against
But when you watched him against Joshua, did you not think that he unraveled, man? You know
yeah, but what about Chisora and Parker? Chisora was really out of it, past his best, man, in that fight.
Yeah, but I think Parker would beat Pulev as well, though. Let's be honest.
Yeah, he would. Yeah, he would.
Yeah. Because one thing that Parker has got over both of those guys is that Parker has, even at this stage of his career, he's very quick. He's got good athleticism. He's very mobile on his feet. So he was always going to beat Derek, wasn't he? Let's be honest.
Listen, remember, Pulev beat Chisora before.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. That was a few years back when he was more motivated. He had more to fight for. And Derek, by comparison, was not very serious. I think Derek is actually taking his career more seriously now than he was a few years back. Don't you think?
Yeah. I think I'm going with Pulev, man. I think I will. I think I'll go with Pulev because Chisora, to me, man, it's not that, it's not that he won't give it a go. He's got the effort, but I just think he'll just beat Chisora again on points. I think he'll beat him, man. I think he'll give it a go. I think he'll win rounds, bully him, but I just could see it getting ugly. I can see it getting very ugly.
See that.
Yeah.
I think it could be one of those fights where I think it could be one of those fights where it's entertaining in spots, but because the two of them are compromised athletically, and they're at the stage of their careers now where they're huffing and puffing their way through fights. So there'll be a lot of holding, a lot of mauling. You know what I mean? The referee's going to have to be very active, very strong. But I can just see Derek pulling it out by virtue of he probably needs it a bit more than Pulev does. That's how I look at it.
Yeah.
But clearly, Pulev over the years has been the better fighter. But, I just think sometimes motivation and the stages of where people are at in their careers can count for a lot. So I think that Chisora might be catching Pulev at the right time, basically.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. I guess, again, I was criticizing it, but listen, man, I'm going to watch it at the end of the day. So, and most of us will. It is what it is, man. Not going to get too angry.
I mean, even when he beat Derek, when was it?
He beat him pretty comfortably. It weren't
no, I don't think it was on the cards, though, was it? I think it was.
Yeah, it was. No, it was a points win.
Yeah, I know, but I don't think it was a wash, was it? I think it was.
I think around 116, 112. I think one of them, maybe 3-4 rounds. I think he won it by.
Yeah. Anyway, he won, and he was a deserved winner.
There was no doubt that he won. Yeah.
Yeah, and he was a deserved winner. But I think that fight was in 2016. We're now in 2022. Different time, different place, different set of circumstances. Like I said, it's almost like a glorified exhibition. Pulev's probably looking at it and thinking, yeah, it's a nice bag. I'm not going to get that hurt. You know what I mean? I've beaten him already. You know what I mean? I don't think it's going to mean much if he loses, as long as he don't get stopped or knocked out, which I doubt. But then the way he unraveled against Joshua was quite worrying, actually. So that being said, he did win his last fight. So, maybe Joshua was better that night than a lot of people were giving him credit for.
Yeah. As Obes are saying here, the fight of the weekend will obviously be Mark Magsayo against Ray Vargas this weekend. So, yeah, I mean, it definitely is, if we're comparing it to Chisora and Pulev in terms of significance. Like I said, we had a bit of back and forth over this fight in terms of prediction. Your final prediction for that fight, man, WBC belt on the line.
Uh, you know what? I might be leaning towards Vargas, man. Because before I had Magsayo a handy winner, but then when I saw him against Gary Russell Jr., he kind of came across to me as somebody that was a bit limited. You know what I mean?
So you're going for Ray Vargas now?
I'm not sure, man. Can I predict a draw?
I mean, Magsayo is the favorite. Ray Vargas is coming up. You know.
Yeah, you know what? I'm going to stick with Magsayo. He's a bigger, stronger man. He's got bigger punch, but it wouldn't surprise me if Vargas won.
Yeah. Comment from Ian Hamilton. I'll go back to it here. Ian Hamilton says, Josh Taylor, his comments, just before we round off. I did see Josh Taylor's comments today. It's looking like that Jack Catterall rematch will happen.
It has to happen. It has to happen.
Well, he's given up 2 belts now. So it's looking like there's no obstructions for that fight happening next. So Jack Catterall, Josh Taylor, the rematch will happen. Very good news for us over here. The Americans probably won't be too fussed about it. But for us over here, it's a very good fight, man. Has to happen. And I think Josh Taylor's going to want to restore some credibility back. Because I admit, listen, man, he lost that fight for me. Some of the criticism he's got since then has probably been a bit too much. Well, it definitely has. Some of the abuse he's got. But knowing the sort of character Josh Taylor is and the pride that he carries, man, that would have hurt him more than losing. The way how everybody thought he lost and how they think he was scared of Catterall and Catterall openly calling him out. Do you know what I mean? So, yeah, good news that this is happening. It's a shame that he's been stripped of those belts so quickly. Just goes to show what these sanctioning bodies are all about. But, you know, we get to see at least Catterall will be fighting for a belt or 2 come fight night. And he deserves that too.
Yep. I'll tell you what, this is a hard fight for Josh Taylor because, you know, Jack Catterall surprised him last time, got his tactics right. The one thing that struck me about that fight the last time as well is how drained Josh Taylor looked at the weight. Remember that fight? When he turned up at the weigh-in, man, he looked gaunt. So he's clearly struggling to make the weight. Well, he certainly was on that occasion. So Jack Catterall has lots of reasons to be confident. He got his game plan right last time. He's really got not too much to fear. He actually dropped Josh Taylor in that fight as well. He was the puncher in that fight. I don't think Josh Taylor hurt him once, did he?
Not that I can remember. No.
Yeah. So, and I remember thinking that Jack Catterall looked pretty strong in that fight, man. His shoulders, you know what I mean? He looked very suave, very strong, sturdy, and he more than held his own. I thought he won that fight by at least 2 or 3 rounds.
What about this though? The fact that going into the rematch, you know, it's going to be looked at a lot differently. There wasn't any pressure on Jack Catterall at all in that first fight because everybody thought he was going to get smoked. But he went in there, no pressure at all, in Scotland, you know, and he produced the great performance. But now going into this fight, many people believed he should have won. There'll be some sort of expectation on him by some for him to win the rematch. You know, different kind of pressure brings a different kind of fight. Will he be able to handle that?
Good question. But I still think more of the pressure is on Josh Taylor, funny enough. He's still going to be the favorite, isn't he? Because a lot of people are going to think, oh, it was a one-off. He's got that pressure of that first fight where, let's be honest, Catterall should have got the decision but didn't. There was all the aftermath, the bad feeling between the two of them. And then Josh Taylor has come out and said that next time they fight, I'm not going to leave it to the judges. I'm going to knock him out. So there's still a lot of pressure on Josh Taylor. He's still going to be the favorite, Josh Taylor. And I think there's still going to be a lot of pressure on him. The only problem for him, though, now is that Jack Catterall is going to believe in himself even more so than he did the first fight.
Yeah.
So it's going to be another tough one, man. And like I said, you throw in the intangible with the weights. How well can he do the weight? I think that could be the key to the fight, you know. I think that could be the key to the fight. If you see, because let's face it, he has done the weight well in the past, but for whatever reason, he cited some excuses about injuries and stuff like that, why he wasn't able to do the weight. Even in the documentary that they had on Jack Catterall the other day. You see in that camp.
Josh Taylor.
Sorry?
Josh Taylor.
Yeah, just say you could see that he was struggling to make the weight.
Mm.
And like I said, you saw him at the weigh and he looked gaunt and weak. And yes, they get 24 hours to rehydrate, but sometimes, you know what I mean, whittling yourself down like that, it's not a good look. Yeah. And he's going to have to do that again for this fight. So, yeah, man, very intriguing. Very intriguing.
And as Francisco says here, he says, because of that, the WBC has ordered a Ramirez versus Cepeda rematch for the vacant belt. That fight there is a very good one. And it also rules out a Conor Benn Ramirez fight. So, you know, we've seen a couple of other options, potential ones that we've heard flying about this week as to who Conor Benn. So let me get your thoughts on that, actually. The fact that, I don't know how true these rumors are. Apparently, they're not that true, according to Eddie Hearn. But Eubank Jr. and Conor Benn was, you know, being spoken about. It was doing the rounds over Twitter the other day. Eddie Hearn has since come out and said that they're trying to make the fight with Keith Thurman. But, you know, interesting to see where Conor Benn goes, because it seemed like that Ramirez fight was one that was being spoken about a lot. I can't see the Keith Thurman fight happening at all. No. PBC don't deal with Eddie Hearn. So that's not going to happen.
Not only that, if you Keith Thurman, why would you want that fight? I've said that many times before on this show. You're closing in on a world title fight. He's probably thinking he's going to get the winner of Errol Spence and Terence Crawford. Yes, he might have to go down that route of taking on one of the young guns, either Conor Benn or Virgil Ortiz or Boots Ennis. But he's not going to, out of those three, he's not going to take Conor Benn, is he? I can't see it. So yeah, I can't see the Thurman fight for Conor Benn next. I can't see the Eubank fight either. I'll tell you what might be an interesting fight. If Josh Taylor, this is for the future, you know, he says he wants to move up to welterweight. What about him versus Conor Benn? Yeah. That's something that could play out in the future. That's a big domestic showdown. Gets two fiery characters. You know what I mean? That could be something worth watching. But yeah, I can't see Thurman and Conor Benn anytime soon, to be honest.
Big up YK22. He's put here, what's up, guys? How you doing, my bros? All good over here, man. Hope you're well, bro. Good to see you here. Obes has said here, does Conor Benn beat Keith Thurman? He says no.
I would have to agree. Not right now, but maybe in a year or so's time, it's quite possible.
Yeah. We'll see. We'll see. Nathan says here, 140 is a fire division, man. Lots of good contenders. Russell, Mateus, Barboza Jr., Zorilla, Love, Ponce, Egershaf, etc. How about this contender at 140 right now who is really upset about being overlooked? Regis Prograis. Wasn't in the mix for a title shot or anything. Openly expressed his frustration.
That's somewhat,
What's going on there?
That's bizarre. Because, I mean, let's face it, man, he had a very close fight with Josh Taylor. Some people actually thought he won it. So why they should be all these fighters contesting for titles, supposedly, and he's not been called into the equation is doesn't make sense to me. Yeah.
Very strange.
I can understand why he feels aggrieved about that, because, yeah, he definitely should be up there.
Does he have his management team or anyone else to blame? Like, you know, is he being pushed to the extent that he should be? I feel like his profile should be a lot higher than it is right now.
To be fair to him, he has been calling out people. For whatever reason, he's not been getting the big fights. But I get the impression that he will fight anyone, don't you? I don't think it's just Cap. I think he does want those fights.
Who's Prograis signed to? Who's he signed with? Because he's not with PBC or Top Rank, is he? That's who Nathan's suggesting he should be with. Who's Prograis actually? Or someone in the comments can help out if you don't know. But yeah, I just feel like his profile should be a lot bigger, man.
Yeah.
No. Diaz has said here, Benn versus Ugas. How about that as a fight? Is that a good fight for Conor Benn?
That's a great fight, but great fight for us, but not a great fight for Conor Benn. I would fancy Boots strongly in that fight.
No, Ugas.
Oh, Ugas. Oh, that's a good fight for him, yeah. That's a very good fight for him, actually.
Yeah.
But maybe not one that he should take next. Again, maybe that fight's another year's time down the road. I still think he's building, man. I still think Connor's building. Because even at the moment, he's not even getting many rounds in, is he?
Not well. Well, he did go the distance with what's his name? What's his name again? The guy from Chicago.
Oh
Corona.
yeah.
But yeah, Progress with Probellum he was with. So yeah, that's right. Yeah, that was the one. Don't know what's going to happen there now, but yeah, that's who Progress was with. Nathan says here, Top Rank have a lot of good guys at 140. DS says here, I'd be pissed if I was Progress. On the other hand, I don't think he capitalized on the Taylor performance 100% right. I agree. He didn't really capitalize on that, man. I didn't really see it.
Yeah. I know he wanted the rematch and he was frustrated at not getting a rematch because it was a unification fight, wasn't it? But yeah, he's not had those high-profile fights, and yet he's been calling everyone out.
Yeah.
He's even offered to go up to welterweight. I know he was calling out Adrian Broner at one point as well. So interesting.
Yeah. Obes has said here, which top name can Conor Benn beat right now? I'll take Ben versus the Mean Machine.
I would definitely take him over Mean Machine as well. Yeah, I'd like to see him fight someone like Stanionis as well, actually. I think he's capable of winning that fight because Stanionis is quite hittable. So I think he could do well against Stanionis. I think the guys for Conor Benn to avoid will be someone like Boots Ennis and Virgil Ortiz. But then you might want to stay away from some of the other guys that are, you know what I mean, well traveled and well skilled and sort of, you know what I mean, have had good careers. Guys like your Thurman. And
I honestly think the Avanesian fight just makes sense right now.
Yeah, I think so as well. Yeah,
it just makes sense. I know they're different promotional firms, whatever, but it makes sense at the moment, man. For me,
I think Stanionis will be a good fight for him because Stanionis is number 6. Stanionis is good, but he does have limitations. Limitations I think somebody like Conor Benn could exploit. I think Ugas is potentially a good fight for him. We don't know how much Ugas has left, but you know, what I mean, he's the right age and so forth. Yeah.
We'll see, man. Got Batayev in there as well, Batayev. But I just like the Avanesian fight, man. I know it's going to be difficult to make now, but you know, that's been cooking for a little while, and it just makes sense. Avanesian don't have an opponent right now. He was supposed to fight Ortiz. That's not happening. Yeah, I like it. I like it. It's a good challenge, man, but it won't happen. I know that. I know that's not going to be on the radar.
Yeah.
Not interested in the Eubank fight at all, by the way.
No. I think the only person that's interested in that Eubank fight is Eubank.
Before we go, like are you a few people like just touched on the Eubank situation, just said, you know, like they're quite disappointed in the fact that
I'll tell you a fight I'd like to see, him versus Liam Smith. I think that's a great fight. I think that's a 50-50 fight. I really do. And
even though Smith's not a natural middleweight.
Yeah, even though he's not a natural middleweight, because he's as tough as they come, he's experienced, and he's got underrated skills, and he would push Eubank all the way in a way that Liam Williams wasn't quite able to. I think Liam Williams may hit harder, but I think that Liam Smith is the tougher fighter. He's also very good to the body. Not really seen too many people go to Eubank's body like that. I think that's a 50-50 fight. I genuinely do. Would not surprise me if Liam Williams beat him. Yeah, but I think if you're Liam Williams and you've been in there with the types of guys he's been in with, people like Canelo and people like that, you're not going to be worried about Eubanks.
True. Very true. Very true.
Yeah, man, make that fight happen. I mean, he's not going to fight Golovkin and all those guys, are he?
He's not.
That's not going to happen. So if he ain't going to do that thing, then do the next best thing, which is some big domestic fights. He had the one with Liam Williams. It did good numbers. There's a lot of interest. I'm sure the Liam Smith one would do equally as well. especially after a few press conferences involving them two. So, yeah.
Have to agree with DS, man. He should be ashamed of himself.
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
working for these welterweights, man. Like, what's
But,
going
but
on?
with Liam Smith, he may have bitten off more than he can chew if he takes the fight.
Mm.
Because I suspect that he might think that the risk versus reward is too much in the risk department. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But we'll see. We'll see.
We'll see. We'll see. But we'll wrap it up here, man. To big up to everyone in the chat, first of all. Shout out to you guys. Don't forget to hit the like button on the way out. Share the video. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Great show again today. Next week, we've got another one. I'll try and get 2 shows in next week. We'll see how that goes, man. It's been very busy, as you guys know. But, thank you all for tuning in. Enjoy the fights at the weekend. And, Laurie, I'll let you close it off.
Another great show, man. Thank you very much for allowing me to come on your platform and engage in one of my passions, boxing. Looking forward to the fights. Listen, even though it's not a marquee fight by any stretch of the imagination, it's still got my interest. See if Derek Chisora can prolong his career a little bit and see how he gets on this weekend. I hope he gets a win, but it's by no means a certainty. It could be a half-decent fight, even if it does have that kind of exhibition feel about it.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys for tuning in, man. And we'll catch you all very soon, man. Peace out.